Everyone, welcome. I'm Colleen Aversa with Liquitex. I'll be your moderator today, and I'm joined by artist Marla Morrison, who will be instructing you on how to paint this lovely Valentine's-inspired heart painting using Liquitex Acrylic Gouache. So before we get started, just want to remind everyone that this class is being recorded. So if you're just hanging out with us today and watching, want to paint this another time, or if you feel like you missed something while painting along, you can rewatch this class in 24 to 48 hours at michaels.com/classes or Michaels YouTube. Also, keep your eye on the chat throughout the class. We might be posting some links and information there that you might find helpful. And if you have any questions, just pop them on there and we'll do our best to get them answered for you. So with that said, please enjoy the class, everyone, and I'll hand it over to Marla.
Thanks, Colleen. I'm really happy to be here to do this wonderful painting. And I was really glad that I had the opportunity to paint hearts because I love hearts. And who doesn't love it this time of year, especially? So hopefully we'll have a great time making this nice little painting and talking about love and hearts and all things sweet and wonderful. So definitely, as you have questions, ask away. We're going to be talking about we're going to be using the Liquitex Acrylic Gouache as our paint series. And we'll talk about, some of the beautiful attributes of this paint. And we're going to be using Liquitex brushes and palette knives. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And with that being said, we'll get started. So Chanel, if you'll take us to the overhead, that'll be great. Awesome. So a couple of things real quick to show. We're using Liquitex Materials. So if you're someone who likes to get on Instagram like I do, you might want to check us out at Liquitex Official. It's a great site to follow because it's going to have lots of information on all of our materials. There'll be different artists showcased, and you'll find out some information on residencies and things like that. So that's a great one to check out. If you get into learning more about art materials in general, this site, which stands for the Fine Art Collective North America, or at TFACNA, is a great one to follow. There will be many demos on, what is acrylic gouache, or how do I clean my brush, things like that. So it's a good source to follow if you get into using Liquitex art materials. And we also have watercolor and markers and all sorts of other media on that site too. And then if you'd like to follow my specific art journey, I'd love to see you at Marla Morrison Art. And I'd love to see what you're up to as well. I think I've always loved art materials. And so you'll see a lot of different types of media on my site. And I'm happy to, follow up with any questions you might have about this class there as well. And then lastly, at the end, we always like to show or see what you guys have made, because of course we can go step by step, and we will, but you are going to put your own vision and your own spin on this piece. And I love seeing what you guys come up with. So when you show us, if you also upload it to your own social media and make sure you hashtag make it with Michaels and hashtag Michaels classes, there's a chance that they will also showcase your painting on their site too. So just be aware of that. And definitely at the end, we'll ask to see how your paintings have come together so we can enjoy seeing those. All right. So this is obviously what we're going to work on. We're going to paint the love word first, let it dry, or we're going to set it aside, let it dry, and then we'll work on mixing the colors for all the mini hearts, okay? Now, one thing I forgot to put on the list, and I'm very sorry about that, is a ruler, but you know what? You don't absolutely have to have it, because really you could put this love wherever you want. I measured it just to get an idea so I could share it with you, and it's about my thumb width. Now, I know you don't have my thumb, but you have your thumb. So what you could do is go from the joint of your thumb inward and make little marks on the canvas, or down here, like my pointer finger is about the length of the love down to the edge, top and bottom. So what I'll do, I'll show you both with the ruler and with just finger measurements. So if you didn't have a ruler handy, you can see how that would work. Okay, so I'll put this aside and we'll get started. We'll come back to it for reference as needed. So I'm just working on 9x12 pre-primed canvas, and I've got 5 of the acrylic gouache colors. Real quick, I'll mention it just to make sure we have the same thing. Cad-free red medium, primary yellow, titanium white, quinacridone magenta, and iridescent bright gold. If you've never used gouache before, just know that the concept of a gouache is that it's velvety, matte, opaque paint. So if you've never used it, I think you'll find it to be a really lovely difference to maybe a typical acrylic that you would have used. The opacity is really nice for a project like this where we're overlaying other, we're doing tons of hearts on top of each other, because each heart, stays on its own and doesn't fade into the background as a more transparent color would. So anyways, these are the 5 colors we're going to be using. I'll put them here. And let's get started by mapping out our love. Now, when you look at this, this is kind of like a stylized fat marker or like graffiti writing. So you can do bubble letters, you can do whatever font you want, but I'm just telling you, I kind of just was looking at different kind of graffiti lettering, and this is the font that I liked quite a bit. So what we'll first do is kind of figure out where we want to put that love. I want mine in the center because I'm trying to get close to what I did as the sample. So I'll just use my thumb as your measurement there. Thumb to joint as a measurement there. If you have a ruler, it's about 1.25 inches from each side. Okay, so just 1.25 inches from each side. Okay, and then from the bottom, let me do a little bit darker than that. I'm just using my pointer finger to just kind of get a, I want to be in the same ballpark as possible. And I'll turn it this way. If you have a ruler, it's about 3 inches. Okay. And I didn't have to turn it around, but because I was OCD, I was like, I'm going to turn it back around. So again, hopefully that's about 3 inches top to bottom. And so we're going to kind of use this as our little working area. If you want to get precise and you have a ruler, you could draw a rectangle and then divide it for each letter. But you know what? We're going to be loose and we're just going to eyeball it. Okay. So come back to this and we're like, okay, 4 letters. Let's kind of give, I'm just going to do a very light line this way, just to kind of help my visual, help me visually space it out. And then if I can imagine where the center is, so if it's 9 by 12, so we're talking like 6 inches. So again, if you had a ruler, you can mark the center, or let me see what that would be. That's about, at least on my hand, it's about going like this, but that's not going to work as well. You just kind of have to eye where the center is if you don't have a ruler. And what we'll do is just make a very thin dividing line there. And then I'm going to divide this space very lightly with my pencil. We can paint over these pencil lines, so don't panic too much if they're a little darker than you would like, because the really cool thing about the gouache, especially the white, is that I found it looks exactly like the pre-prime canvas when it's dry, so we can paint over any kind of errant pencil lines that you may not like having. Okay, so let's put this here so we can maybe eyeball it. I'll just cover. How's that, guys? Does that help or work? All right, so I'm just going to sketch it in. And I see that the bottom part of the L dips down. Not worried about perfection. This is supposed to be just like a fun kind of graffiti marker look, right? So I'll round that off. So that's the L. You can see that. You can do just like a fat kind of balloon bubble letter if you want, or whatever font you like. Now in this square, I'm just going to look at my I want to say 0, but my O right there. Look at my O right there. And just follow the lines that I have in that kind of faux graffiti marker font. It's not going to be exact, but close enough. And then I like the idea of having a little heart in the middle. So we're all going to have our own kind of way of drawing a heart. And then move into the V. And again, I'm imagining this is the fat part of a marker coming down. And then the thinner part going up, and I'll follow this curve up here. And then just kind of draw that down. And then lastly, you've got this expressive E. So I'll just kind of sketch, just not a straight up and down, just a slight curve on the E. And then I'll mirror this up bend in the bottom. And it might be hard to see, but this is, again, if you're imagining like this is a giant marker, this would be a downstroke. And so this top stroke, which would be the thin part of a marker, comes down just slightly from the fat part of the marker. So that's why there's a little bump here in the top of the E. Does that make sense? I'll show it closer in just a second. And then we'll go down, and I have this just slightly higher than the bottom. And then lastly, we'll come down here and finish out the bottom of the E. So hopefully you can see that pencil sketch just to give me a rough kind of guideline for where I want that lettering to be. All right. So now to paint in the love, I'm going to use the cadmium free red medium. And what I wanted to try this time, let me know if you like this effect or this idea. Since we're doing a lot of color mixing, I made kind of a little cheat sheet to put on the side, and I'm going to lay out the color. Let me move it over so you can see it better here. I'm going to lay out the color in this order. So I'm going to talk about it as I do it, but if you forget, maybe this can be a nice visual reference for you to look at. So the first color I'm going to squeeze out is the cadmium red medium. And the only place we use this straight out of the tube or out of the bottle is for the love. Okay. And then I'm going to take my Filbert brush, dip it in. And one of the cool things to say about the gouache is you don't need a lot. It has really good covering power. So I put down less than like a half a teaspoon of the cad red medium. And it's actually cad free red medium. This is a side note that if you're someone who's into painting and you've noticed there are cadmium colors and then cadmium free colors, Liquitex has come out with this range of cadmium free to be on parity or just visually identical to a genuine cadmium without having to use genuine cadmium heavy metal. So this is great for painters who don't want to use a heavy metal in their paint. Okay. All right, so now I'll just start over here. I'm right-handed. I'm just painting right to left here, and I'm going to start with my L. And I like using the Filbert for this because this is a soft kind of bubbly font, and that soft rounded tip of the Filbert I think partners nicely. If you have a bright or a flat on hand, you could use that too. Because in fact, I can turn my Filbert to get a crisper edge if I want. Can you guys see that? So here's the Filbert edge for the rounded, and then here it is. If I need it to be flatter or a little crispier, I'll just use the edge that way. And then don't be afraid to, you can move your canvas around. I'm going to try and keep mine a little more stable just for visual purposes here. But it's really just kind of painting in your into your sketch mark. Okay. And hopefully you can see that this one relatively thin coat of acrylic gouache is covering really nicely. It's going to dry to a velvety matte texture, visual texture. And to me, that velvety texture that it dries to just gives it a really beautiful density to the pigment, if that makes sense. So when I did a different demo on gouache, and I was kind of getting into the nitty gritty of what our gouache line is all about. And I didn't realize it until I did a little more study, but the acrylic gouache line is actually our most heavily pigmented paint series. So I think that's what you also see when you're working with it, is that really vibrant, powerful color when it's painted out. So guys, I'm being really loose here. And again, if I were to make a little blip outside my pencil mark, that's the other cool thing. We can always correct that later if we need to with the titanium white. Plus, though, we're going to be painting so many little hearts that it probably wouldn't even be noticed. So do not fret if you feel like you made a little blip that you just don't like, because there are ways to deal with it. If only that were true in other areas of life, right? If we could just paint over it and move on, but it doesn't always work that way. So we'll just paint in the, keep painting here. The nice thing too about the gouache is it dries relatively quickly. I know for some painters that can be frustrating, but I actually really embrace that attribute of acrylics in general, and especially the gouache, because I don't know, I feel like it's easy enough just to put it aside and let it dry for a little bit and then come back in painting. I don't feel like I need to worry too much about having a lot of blending time. But if I did, if I needed more blending time, like if I'm more used to, say, oil color or something like that, and I want more blending time, the good thing is that Liquitex makes various mediums that you can mix with the gouache, like our slow dry medium, for example. So that would give you more blending time if you feel like it's a little too fast drying. And that's another beauty part of just working with acrylics in general, is that if you don't like the way the paint is in the container, like when you squeeze it out, there's usually a lot of different ways you can adjust it. And guys, I don't know if you can tell, but here I didn't really exactly fill in where my line mark on that V. I decided to change it as I'm painting. And again, I can just touch that up because I didn't really like where I had drawn it originally. So the gouache will level your brush strokes. Hopefully you can see that it would be pretty challenging to get really thick brush strokes anyways, but when it dries, you're going to have almost no visual evidence of brush strokes. So that's why it's nice for this kind of more graphic application too, where anyone who sees it could tell it's paint because you can get painterly with it. But because it reduces some of the evidence of that brush stroking, it also has a real kind of powerful effect on the viewer. Just it really kind of hits home whatever you're painting, in this case, the word love. Okay. So you can see, maybe I'm kind of doing it without saying it. I constantly move my brush head around depending on the depth, or the width, I should say, of the shape I'm filling in. So, never hesitate to move that brush to get it to do what you need it to do. Just twirl it in your hand as needed. And it will do what you need it to do. Okay, so we're almost done here. Hopefully you guys are feeling comfortable with it and getting it to a point where you're happy with it. Do not fret. You can still work on it if you still need more time. So I'll talk a little bit about mixing, and then we'll start mixing up the colors for the hearts. Okay, so I'm going to call that good. We're going to set this aside now. I guess I'm going to move it out of the way just a little bit because we're going to talk about, I want to do the mixing kind of more in the center here. All right, so I have a water container up at the top. You're going to want your water container handy because as we work with the little hearts, you're going to be cleaning your brush frequently with water. And obviously I'm going to clean off my Filbert brush before I set it aside. I don't want any acrylic, I don't want any of the gouache to dry in it. Now I'm going to take my palette knife. I know some artists do a lot, especially if they work on a smaller scale, they'll just use their brush for mixing color. I highly encourage you to also have a palette knife handy, especially for larger pieces, but even for smaller ones like this. I think it's just a really handy way to work because, first of all, it mixes more quickly than mixing with a brush. And second of all, it saves wear and tear on your brush filaments. Because if you're constantly using your brush to sit there and mix a bunch of color, you're wearing out that bristle before it's time, right? You're shortening its usable life by just doing a whole bunch of mixing. Because, a brush is meant for painting on a surface. It's not meant to sit and stir and mix a whole lot of color. Anyways, palette knives are a really handy tool, or palette knives are a really handy tool. The Liquitex knives are stainless steel, which is great because this happens to be a really clean knife of mine, but I have been known to let paint dry on my palette knife. And if that's ever the case, I can just let it soak in water and then take like an old toothbrush or like a scrubby pad and scrub off any excess acrylic paint that gets on there. So they're just really, I really like the stainless steel blades on the Liquitex knives. Okay, so per my little cheat sheet, I'm going to add more Cad Red Medium because we're going to need that for some mixing. So I'll just put about another ½ teaspoon at the top. And then we're going to add some, let's do it this way. I'm going to put some primary yellow here. Oop, come on, there we go. Yeah, and if you've never used this before, I should have said this earlier, but when you get a new container, you have to squeeze out or screw off the top, and there's like an inner like foil kind of protective leaflet thing that you pull off, and then you put your cap back on. The reason we have that is it helps keep it from drying out in storage, and also keeps it from, you know, if there's any kind of accidental damage, it keeps it fresh in the bottle. And then you have a nib at the top here where you can cut it to whatever depth you want. I usually cut it to the smallest depth because I just do, but some artists who go through a lot of color quickly, they might cut it at the base and squeeze out a lot at one sitting. And then the snap top caps are handy. And plus too, another little thing, if you have a lot of these, you can just stack them in your studio and have them visible. So I really like that it's a newer bottle design that we're using now. All right. So on my notes, I have Cad Red Medium plus a little bit of primary yellow. Super scientific, I realize, but just kidding. No, I'm taking about what, ¼ teaspoon of my Cad Red Medium. I should be saying Cad Free Red Medium. And we'll take, I said my notes said a little bit of primary yellow, so maybe like a pea size amount. We may have to adjust this. A lot of mixing for me is fairly intuitive, where I can make notes, but when it comes to it, I still have to adjust as I go. So yeah, let's add a little bit more. So that was like another pea size dollop. When I'm using a palette knife, you see how I'm scraping on the palette paper? You can hear it. I just find that obviously that's a way to scoop up all the color, but it just makes it way quicker and easier than trying to use a little brush to sit there and stir a decent volume of color. But you know what? I want this a little bit more orange, so I'm going to take another pea size amount of my primary yellow and mix that in. All right, so that's better. So hopefully you can see that. It's skewing orange. Cad Red, or the Cad Free Red, is already kind of like a yellow bias or more of an orange leaning red, but adding that yellow helps give me more of an orange. And guys, I need more primary yellow. So for this one, for the next color, we're mixing Cad Red Medium plus more primary yellow. So this time we'll just put it right here. I'm gonna do like, let's do probably like a ½ teaspoon of the primary yellow. And in this case, I'll just take a little bit of this prior color I mixed, get it on my knife, and mix it straight into that yellow. Because you'll notice darker value colors like this mixture here, or the Cad Free Red Medium, that they're darker value. And if you haven't thought or talked about, you know, color and value is just how light or how dark a color is. So obviously, like a white would have a very light value, and my Quinacridone Magenta is a much darker value. And then a lot of colors are somewhere in between. So where was I going with that? So I'm making these, oh, my yellow is lighter value than this Cad Free Red Medium. So I only need a tiny amount of that darker value red to mix with my lighter value yellow. So hopefully that makes sense. And we're going to now, so that's pretty good for the color I wanted there. And now we're going to take some of this mixture, put it right there. And now we're going to add some titanium white. Excuse me, I'm tapping my white on the side there to make sure I have enough handy. So let's do, I can always make it a little darker. That's a little more than a ¼ teaspoon of white that I'm going to mix with this mixture. So it's somewhat like a gradient or ombre of these, what's the word? Kind of sunny, citrusy colors. and the vibrant colors. So now I've added white. Now I've got kind of like a mango peachy color. And then we're going, so that was this one, adding titanium white. Now we're going to put down quinacridone magenta on its own. So don't you love these tongue twister names, but that just tells you the pigment that's used is from the quinacridone family. Quinacridone colors tend to be very vibrant and naturally transparent, but in the case of the gouache, we call it semi-opaque. So since the pigment itself is can tend to be more naturally transparent, Liquitex had to really pack it with color in order to get it to be semi-opaque. And if you can see that little square that's half black and white, that it'll also say semi-opaque, but that little square is kind of a symbolic way of showing the opacity. Here, where's like on my white, I've got a black square that shows you that it's an opaque color. So all of these are either going to be semi-opaque or fully opaque. Okay. So I want some quinacridone magenta on its own, and then I want some with white. And I think I only did it once, but I might do two. So I want a little more quinacridone magenta. So probably closer to a half teaspoon of magenta now. And then I'm going to put more white here. I want a decent amount. And yeah, so we'll do more. Okay, yeah, we're going to do two. I didn't put on here, but we're going to do two variations of the quinacridone magenta. So we'll add about half of that quinacridone to that 1/4 teaspoon dollop of white. And so we're getting kind of a like a raspberry, light raspberry, well, maybe bubblegummy kind of pink. Quinacridones are usually really good choices for getting that kind of bubblegum pink. Okay. And then I want to add one more light pink. So we're going to, so let me add to my notes here so it's accurate. And we'll add one more quin magenta plus more white. Okay, we're going to have quite a few different heart colors here. So we'll take half teaspoon of white, and I'll take just a little scraping of the color we just made. And now I'm going to mix that with my white. Yeah, there we go. I like having one more value of that pink. Okay. Aren't these colors fun? I love this kind of gradational color. All right, so got that one mixed, and then now we're going to come back to our yellow. I wanted to like kind of a lemon. We're going to add more straight primary yellow. I'll just put it back up here. And then I want more of like a bit of a lemon. So I'll do about a large pea size amount of primary yellow with about an equal amount of white, and mix that and get kind of a lemony color. Okay. All right, and the last one that we'll have handy, you go ahead and squeeze it out. And you can see I'm cleaning my knife in between each color, obviously, just to keep it clean. The last color, I really love this particular color in the acrylic gouache. It's called Iridescent Bright Gold. And this is what I think makes this whole piece pop, is having that shimmer added, right? So it's in your little heart in the center. And then I've got kind of solid hearts distributed throughout. And we'll do that at the end. And I just love how, even though this is an opaque color, you can have this semi-opaque bright gold still have a shimmer and a light to it that we normally associate with a transparent color. So I just find this to be a really great color to have as an addition to your palette. Can do a lot of things with it. I mean, look at that. That's just beautiful, right? Just a little gold dollop there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move this to the side. I'll leave that there in case you need it. Okay. Colleen, everyone's doing good in the chat and everything?
Yeah, all is quiet.
All right.
And I did put your colors on the chat. So
oh, cool.
Out of the way, they can reference them in the chat.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I may lose them on the side there. So, okay. Oh, yeah. So if you can, yeah, we'll do that. I'll move it off then because
if anyone needs it back, just let me know and I'll let Marla know and she can put it back up.
Yeah, I can put it back. Okay. All right. So now let's just take a quick check. This should be pretty dry. If you're doing this project again or with a different word or whatnot, of course you could, you know, or if I wanted to, I could take like a hair dryer or something and speed up the drying. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, there's no need for it because as I gently put my finger on it, it's already touched dry and it's been what, 15 minutes or so. So that gives you a sense of how quickly these colors can dry. But if, you know, it could be, if you're in a place, if you live in a state that's more humid, you know, or if it's raining where you are, it may not be fully dry yet. So be aware that acrylics can take longer to dry in really humid environments, and they'll dry more quickly if you're in a very dry environment. So like if you're in Arizona or something, it's not raining and it's super dry, you'd have less working time. So just, it has to do with how quickly the water evaporates out of the acrylic paint film. Okay. So that's all that's about. All right, so I think it's dry enough to start painting over it to make our little outlined hearts. And I think what I found most helpful about doing this was to start with the lighter value hearts first and kind of doing a lot of fill in with each of the lighter value colors and then coming back in with some of the darker value hearts on top. One main reason for that is if you leave the lighter value colors for the end and you put it on a darker value color that isn't dry, it's going to look a lot more smeary. Okay. So since we're working in, you know, one painting session, we want to make sure that we can, if we don't want a bunch of smears, that's a good way to avoid it is by doing lighter value hearts first and then finishing with your darker value hearts. Okay. So now in the description, hopefully you have some type of small round brush. This is by our sister company, Winsor Newton. Something happened with my my round brush from Liquitex, so I had to grab this in a pinch. So I apologize, but any small round brush will work. It's just find it a lot easier to do the outlined heart with this smaller head brush. Okay, so it's just a round. The thing about a round head is that it's really great for line work. And really these outline hearts are just a variety of, you know, line work, right? So that round shape, when you press it down, it stays in that round shape. I mean, in that line shape for the most part, right? If I had a fatter brush, I could press it down. And if it was a lot bigger, it's going to splay out more. So for these hearts, I want them to be fairly uniform. So my round brush is a good way to go. Okay, so I said I'd start with light value first. And I think what I'll also do is stick with one of the color families. I think that these colors kind of go together. So I'm going to start with my peach and my lemon colors that are mixed here. And then I'll probably then add some of the orange on top. I'm not going to add any of the cadmium red or the cad free red medium at this point because I want the love to stand out on its own and not get mixed in with any of the hearts on top. Okay, so we're not going to use this top color any longer, just any of the others. Okay. All right, so let's start with this is light value, maybe not the lightest. These are probably similar value, but I'll start with my peachy mango color. And really I don't really have a major sense of logic to how to do it after that point. Once you pick your light value color, but this is like the fun part where you're just doodling with paint, right? Now I do, when I work with it, I am thinking, okay, I want to space these out. You know, I don't want them all in one section. I'd like to kind of space out where I have these different colored hearts. And I can play with how hard or how soft I bear down right? So my palette paper here, if I want it to be fairly thin, I won't bear down as hard, right? If I want it to be fatter with my brush, I could bear down harder and I'd have a fatter outline heart. Make sense? So I'm trying to just not bear down too much and just kind of quickly feather that in. Okay. But that's up to you. You could do a wider outline if you want, or have it thinner like mine, whatever floats your boat there. So the other thing I'll say too, in order to not obscure the love too much, I'm going to not go over the love with my lightest value colors. I'm going to do it with a medium or dark, because I feel like if I put a bright yellow heart on there, that's going to break into that lettering too much, if that makes sense. Okay. So instead, I'm going to stay kind of on the perimeter or around the edges of the love with my lightest value colors. Okay. And you can see each heart is going to be unique. I mean, I just really liken it to doodling. Okay. Spacing them out. I can go over it if I feel like I didn't get it quite like I wanted. But you see this kind of brushy mark. I do like that. Me personally, I like that kind of varied effect of darker color and lighter color. It adds a certain energy to it, very much like handwriting. You know how, you have friends or whatever, and they'll, have just very different handwriting than you, but that's part of what makes them unique and makes you unique. So I think about that a lot with painting, because it's not only the tool that you use, it's how you use it, right? So someone else could take the same brush I'm using, and the way their hand and the way they bear down on it, it's going to have a very different look than mine would. Okay. And you might want a different shape heart. You might want bigger hearts. You might want smaller ones. But you can see here, I'm really just trying to space it out. I'm tilting them a little bit, could do that. I could overlap some of these, and I might come back later and overlap some. I do want to make sure that I let some look like they're going off the edge, just because I think that helps make it a nice, I think that just design wise, that's a nice way to do it. Okay. So I'll just look like some are going off the edge. Now I'll wipe off the tip of my brush and clean it in some water. And I'll go to my lemon. Now, my lemon yellow. And now I'll just kind of go near my peachy color. And I will start to overlap a bit now. And if I smear a little bit here, it's okay, because they are very similar value. And I'm jumping around, guys. I do that. I'm not being real methodical of how I cover the canvas. But anyways, I will, if I were to go over a slightly wet part of that peachy color, it's not going to be too dramatic, because these are similar value colors, right? So, don't let that concern you if it smears a little bit. It's just part of it. But you can see, especially with these brushy strokes, these thin amounts of color are already touch dry, and it's only been, 3 minutes or so. So it's, you can see how you can get this done in a quick painting session. Now I'm going to cover up a little bit of my brush mark there, if I can. I'll just keep going. I want some of this to look like it's going off the edge, but again, I'm not putting any on my love yet, because I don't want to cut into the red too much with this lighter value lemon color. You can see some of these hearts just really not that perfect, and we talked about that. That's totally fine. I might sneak some of the yellow up in between here, just to make sure visually I've got yellow, just that lemon yellow distributed kind of everywhere. I think we're good there. I'm going to clean this off. Okay. I'm a little conflicted. I think before I did all orange, I think I'm going to change my mind, and I'm going to do my lighter pink, because I am going to stick with my lighter values. So I'm going to jump down to the lighter pink, guys, and now add that. if you feel inspired to do something different, go for it. I'm just kind of sharing what I've found works as far as layering and not smearing. Now, right here, you can see that I got that pink color into my lemon and it did smear. That's okay. I think that's something that I'll, you know, if it bothered me, I could cover it up with another heart on top, or that's just part of the beauty of the painting, right? So that's probably going to happen on various parts of your painting.
Someone in the chat, Marla, had a great idea that you could do this on a smaller scale and make a greeting card or Valentine's card for,
yeah,
you know, your kids or your spouse or a friend.
yeah, perfect idea. Yes, and you'll probably, like me, after I did this project, I found myself just doodling hearts everywhere too. But yeah, making a greeting card or for family or friends this would be a really quick and easy technique for doing that. And it's nice because it's kind of like, again, like your handwriting, but it's your expression. You can see your hand in it for whoever you give it to. Yeah, I love that. So definitely, guys, I am overlapping a lot now because quite frankly, there's just not enough, you know, there's not as much white space. So overlapping is starting to happen, still staying away from the love. I'll start covering that just a little bit in some of the next colors or the medium tone colors. But hopefully you guys are zoning into that repetitive motion of making these little hearts. Just take a moment to always kind of evaluate, how is this part of the canvas going? Do I need to represent this color over here? You know, how's it looking? That kind of thing. All right, so I'll wipe this one. And now let's go to this kind of medium tone, bright orange. So now we're kind of getting in the darker value colors, okay? And start over here. These are going to be a little more visually dominant. And so again, you kind of have to think about spacing because they're just going to catch the viewer's eye to a greater degree than those lighter value colors. And here I'm going to let some of it cover over my love. So you can see how that's not going to distract too strongly from the wording, but it's going to help create the illusion that these hearts are just all over the place because I can cover this word. I mean, so I can cover the love. Cover the love. Make sure you let some off the edge. And just keep your artist eye going, looking at where, you know, where you can add this darker value heart. Redo it, press down again if you need to. If you feel like you did a pass that was a little too light, don't hesitate, you know, just do it again. And you may find too, once we go through all the colors, you may look at it and you're like, oh, you know what? I need to go back to that lemon color. I need to add a few, or I need to go back to the vibrant orange. That's totally, you know, something you can do just depending on, you know, how your piece is coming together. All right, so as I look at this, I see, I kind of like the spacing. I feel like it's going pretty well. Jump down here. Maybe another one right here. All right, let's take a second, take a look at this. So it's getting there, right? Getting there. Just more hearts, more hearts. Gotta have more hearts. So I'm gonna clean my brush. And now let's do some of the, oh, I forgot about that color. Let's do my kind of, what did I say, raspberry bubblegum. Forgot about that one. Go to the raspberry bubblegum color. It's kind of a mid-tone. And this is one that I'm comfortable covering that love a little bit with as well. Let's see how it's not distracting too terribly much from those letters.
It's cool. It kind of looks like heart bubbles that are like floating. Love.
Yeah, I like that. Heart, yeah, heart conversations, bubbles, just kind of floating over the surface. Yeah, I like that column. Yeah, very like very zen-like. Sit here and just do this over and over. Trying to remind myself I might need to talk. I can't just shut down and not talk and get into the hearts.
What do you think made you love hearts so much, Marla?
Well, I was telling Chanel earlier, okay, so in high school, long ago for me, but there was a fad of these puffed silver hearts. So my mom kind of started me on a little collection of these puffed silver hearts, and I really liked that in high school. And then I don't know, at some point I kind of gave it up. And then you know, I kind of got back into it in the last 5 or 6 years, because on my own site, I make resin hearts and heart jewelry and stuff like that. So I don't really have a great explanation as to why the shape has kind of captured me again. I just know that it has. And, I'm good with that. It's just, I don't really have a great story, as to why it has. It just has. So maybe, it's just I love the shape of it. It's so easy to make, and it's just such a wonderful symbol, love and caring and all that kind of good stuff. And I don't know, it just makes me happy. Oh, and you know what too? Probably, in so many social media, you like stuff with hearts, right? So maybe that's it too. It's just more of a cultural thing now that we recognize hearts everywhere. I don't know. I hadn't thought about that till just now.
Oh, Kimberly Jones in the chat says she has 3 of your beautiful resin hearts.
Really? How cool.
Yeah.
How cool is that? That makes me so happy. So she is into hearts too then. How very cool. All right. Let's do a little one there. Okay, it's coming together, 10 minutes. I want to make sure we get this covered nicely. So now I'm going to go to my quinacridone right out of the bottle. One of my darker value colors for sure. So again, considering spacing, I'm definitely overlapping. I am not worrying about smearing, but you can tell from your own piece probably that it's just shouldn't be smearing too much, because again, this dries pretty quickly. But again, if it does smear, hey, that's part of painting. I think it's a friend of mine talked about, he likes seeing the artist hand in work, and I think that makes sense. Seeing your particular hand. I know I mentioned that a second ago, but just that I like that concept of the artist hand in the work. And let's see, more of the quinacridone here. And what you'll notice too, when the whole piece dries, it's going to look a little darker, probably a little more vibrant. That just has to do with the nature of how acrylics dry. So be aware of that. Most people don't mind that at all. I'll just mention it to be aware of it. And I think I will go ahead and do a little bit of my darker value, cutting over the love word, because you can see that's not obstructing it too terribly much. I like the idea of, like Colleen said, those bubble hearts kind of floating over the whole piece, not leaving the love, totally exposed. So, okay. Maybe one more here. Take a look. All right. Do one more over here. Okay, now let's, oh, I didn't use the dark orange. Let's do a couple of that because that's also dark, and then we'll go to the gold. So this first orange I mixed up, we'll do a little bit of that too. And this I might make a little smaller because why not? You can vary. I didn't vary the size a ton, but on this I might try and make it just a little bit smaller for fun. And it's cool too how our eye works, how, you know, like our eye will visually blend all these colors, but at the same time, we recognize that they're individual heart shapes. So it's just a neat kind of, not really an optical illusion, but just an optical effect that this kind of layering gives. And you can see too, I'm pretty much obliterating any of my pencil marks that, you know, maybe on this V, I'll come back later and clean it up. But a lot of the other pencil marks I can't even really see now. So hopefully you've had that experience too with your piece at this point. Maybe one more here. Okay, let's add some gold. So one more, let's just show the difference here. So here's the finished with the gold. Here it is without, and I think you'll be really surprised at how that gold just kind of sets the whole thing, sets it off, okay? So I'm still gonna use my round brush, and I've got my gold. What's cool, in a large amount, you know, the gouache dries quickly, but this large amount didn't dry too fast, right? So we've been painting for 30 or, you know, 40 minutes plus, and it's been sitting out for that long, and it's fine in a large amount. When it was brushed thinly, that's when it will dry more quickly, okay? But let's start, I wanna start with my little heart in the center here. And my red got a little messed up on the edge, so I'll cover that up. And what I found too, this is one color where for the most dramatic effect, I will often do a second coat on top. You certainly don't have to, but I just really like that extra punch that the second coat gives. So I'm going to cover this. And then if there's time after I do some more hearts, I'll do another coat on top. So I'll put that in there. And now in order to make the more bubbly hearts, an easy way to do it is to take your round brush, press down and lift up, press down, lift up. Does that make sense? I'll do it again. So press down, lift up, press down, lift up. And then, oh, it's gold, so it's hard to see. But then you can, and it's not going to paint well on the palette paper, but then you can fill it in more. So let me show you on here. Let's do one here. Press down, lift up, press down, lift up. Oh, try it again up close. Press down, lift up, press down, lift up. There, that's probably better. You see that one? Okay. So now I'll just continue doing more of that. We'll start it here, press down, lift up, press down, lift up, and then shape it as needed. And I am just spacing this out visually where I think I need a little bubbly heart. And keep going. And the cool thing too, and if I need to refine the tip, you can just move your brush around to do that. But the nice thing too, if I get any extra color in here, the metallics are really great. They just kind of take whatever color is mixed in with it, and it just makes it metallic. So don't let that worry you again if you get some of the color in there. Make sure some go off the edge. I always think that's a good thing to do, even with these little bubbly hearts. And again, I'm just kind of evenly wallpapering them in, for lack of a better way of saying it. Here we go over here. And I'll put one right here. And right here. And right here. Heart, party, and effect. You could do as many of these as you want. You could do them all bubbly heart if you wanted to, but yeah, you wouldn't quite have that bubbly effect. And again, these are not, if you look at each heart, they're not really that, they're not perfect. They're just, our eye though, you know, helps fill in the blank. So yeah, that's a heart.
I just wanted to mention really quick, Marla, that for everyone watching today, tomorrow you will get a survey in your email. And this is how we kind of gauge where we are with our classes and what everybody's into and how much you guys liked it. So if you're enjoying today's class, please share with us tomorrow when you get the survey.
Definitely. Okay, so let's see. I think I covered it about where I want to. Let me see if I have a little, yeah, it's a little bit early, but I can still touch in some gold here just to really make that pop. I'm going to flesh it out a little bit too, round it out a little bit. And again, even though I'm getting some thicker texture, that's going to level out quite a bit when it dries. It won't, this pouncy texture I'm leaving won't completely level out, but it will level out quite a bit. Okay. And then I could come in and do another coat if I wanted, but you know what, let's do, no, I think that's good. All right, so this is the time, guys, that when you look at your piece, you could certainly say, hey, I like it as it is, or I've got all of these colors down and now I want to come back. I want to add a yellow on top of my purple or whatever. You can certainly do that if you have extra color. It's very forgiving, very easy way to paint with acrylics. And Chanel, well, guys, so here, let me compare the two. So you can kind of see what we started with here and what we got. Okay, so not a lot of time. It all comes together. And Chanel, if you'll go ahead and go back to the front facing. So guys, I hope that you got a painting you're happy with. If we have time, I don't know, Colleen, do we have time where we can ask to see whatever we did?
Yeah, we have a minute.
Okay, I would love to see what you guys did. I'll put it in, I want to put it in my gallery view here so I can see what people did. Ooh, rainbow, nice. Very cool.
So cute.
Love it.
Great job, guys.
Yeah, don't forget to share that to the Make It With Michael's and Michael's classes hashtags. That was awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for showing me that. All right, so thanks again for spending some of your afternoon with me. Had a really great time painting with you, and I hope that this will inspire you to make Valentine's cards or do other pieces for your friends and family. And as always, have fun painting, and thanks so much. Colleen, do you have anything you need to say?
Nope, that's all. Thanks everybody for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks.